This is that SWR Mo-Base that came in because the power amp for the left output had caught on fire. And it had caught on fire primarily because the 4 screws which hold the heatsink to the chassis had come loose and were lost, and the thing was just banging around inside. And I told the owner at the onset that I did not recommend the repair, given the scarcity of parts for these, the complexity of finding all that stuff, and the fact that some thermal damage had occurred. And there was no guarantee it would work. But he said he loved this amp. He insisted that I try to fix it. I ordered every part I needed, some from Reverb, some from eBay, some from Mauser and DigiKey, had all new components for that board. So every transistor has been changed properly thermally, with proper application of thermal compound, everything heat sinked, new screws that hold the heat sink to the chassis, new WEMA film caps, new electrolytics, about half the resistors were changed out. It should be great. Everything on that board measures the same as the board that does work. Turned it on to set the initial bias. Resistor burned out immediately. And poking around, I really strongly suspect that when the amp was operated without the heatsink connected to chassis and it was just banging around loose, that the burn is actually in the board. The board itself is no longer non-conductive. And so it is toast. And we are back at the beginning where I had recommended to the owner that I not do that repair. And he's not going to be happy to pay for the time and parts I put into this. And I'll work with him. I'm not a jerk about such things, but if you take an amp to a tech and he or she advises against having the work done, listen to her, listen to him, listen to me. So what I've done is I've just disconnected that damaged left power amp and left the right power amp in place. So the amp now is in mono. It is a mono 200, 250 watt solid state amp. It sounds pretty good. I'm about to verify all that. And it can also be used if you don't use its output section. Just run, and then it's stereo again. You can run out to a new stereo power amp and use this as the world's largest preamp. Pardon me. If you do love the sound of the amp, it is still there. It is still working. It's just not going to have the full output it used to have, which is a much less expensive repair than the one he insisted I do. But I wanted to show how I test amps like this. You know, I don't have a 200 watt 2 ohm cab here. I don't have a 600 watt 4 ohm cab or all the various variations you may need with bass amps. And I don't have, 300 watts of cabs from Marshalls either. My main testing cab is 120 watts, 8 ohms. And I can do an awful lot of stuff with that. For anything above that, or where the output level would be just blasting me and my neighbors, say a Marshall Major or even 100 watt, or this thing if you're plugged into a 4x10 cab, I actually run the output of the amp into a Hughes and Kettner red box, which is a semi-effective speaker simulator. And the output, the through, goes to a dummy load, in this case a 300 watt 2 ohm. And then I take the output to my computer, and I can play that back through my stereo system as loud as I need it to be or as quiet as I need it to be. So the amp's master volume's on 10. It's got its 2 ohm load. It's happy. So I'm just going to test all the functions of the preamp before I sign off on it. So let's check that limiter. All right, this is a SWR P-bass with a Fralin pickup and real electronics. So it's a pretty good test bed for bass amps. Test that active pad on the front. That's so far so good. Let's check the EQ. I've got everything flat here. So that's frequency, that's cutter. Let's get some of that boxiness out just a little bit. Aural enhancer. Wow. No, thank you. All right, so that's all working. Overdrive. Kind of ugly. At least direct. Doesn't track very well. Bass synth. Just working this pot. Sometimes I don't need to clean them you can just rotate a few times. Clytus, I'm bored. Mo EQ. A little more subtle than I expected, but it's only saying that it does about 5-6 dB. So that's probably pretty useful. You could set like a slightly darker midier thing. Sorry, just having fun with it. Effects loop blend. I don't have anything in the effects loop. Master volume. So I think he'll have to be happy with this. It is what it is at this point.